in the yesterday's session how to install Python that I showed you, and then how to run or different ways of running Python script. And then we started with input output statement, in which only output statement we covered, that is print, and different forms of print, right? Around 8 to 9 different ways I showed you displaying output, isn't it? So all those things quickly we will recall it on the slides, okay? Because yesterday I just gave you demonstration of all those. Now what we'll do is we'll go through all those methods again on the slide so that it will be in revision to you people, okay? So print is the function which Python has provided for displaying anything on the monitor. So if you want to display anything on the monitor, use this print function. Print never returns anything, right? Like if you are using cprintf, so it returns something. It returns an integer telling how many characters are sent to the console. So here print doesn't return anything, but nothing is represented in Python as none. But none is also an object, because Python doesn't give anything without an object. It's a pure OOP. Integer is also object according to Python. And if it's an object, it belongs to some class. It belongs to some class. So which class it belongs? Yesterday I told you that none value belongs to class none type. So we'll come to that later. At this moment, just remember print returns none because it doesn't return anything. Okay. So print is used to display output, and print doesn't return any value. There are different forms of print. The first one which I took, print without any argument, it is just displaying one blank line, right? If you call this print with a round bracket, it will just display one blank line. So print with no argument simply prints a new line, right? That was the first one. Then just if you want again to see the demonstration, to print without anything, it displays one blank line, right? Then the second one, now what I have done is second and third I have combined in this only, that is print one value or more than one value. Always remember, anything which I write in a square bracket is optional, means it is not compulsory in the syntax. Anything which you write in a square is optional, right? So whenever I give a syntax, and in that syntax anything which I'll put in a square, assume it is optional, it's not mandatory. So value 1 comma value 2 comma, it can go on. Now this print, what it will do, it will display all these values one after another, value 1, value 2, value 3, with a space in between. Means every value is separated with a space, right? And at the end, by default, new line. At the end it will put a new line, and all these values will be separated with a space. And these values can be, I told you yesterday, it can be a literal value, that is a constant value, it can be a variable, it can be an expression, it can be called to some other function, anything. Clear? You can use any type of value. So print with any number of values. What this print will do, these values can be string, variable, expression, called to any value. This print will display all the values one after another. All the values are displayed one after another with a space in between. Getting? So just an example I'll show you. Here there are two variables created. Name, my name is stored, age, okay? Then sub1, sub2, in that Python is stored, data science is stored, and then you are giving the list of values. Value 1, value 2, value 3, value 4. Like value 1 is a literal value, hello. Then a space will come. Then name is a variable. So my name is printed, again space. Your age is, again a space. Then age, 43. Now it is increased, but it is whatever the value is displayed. So all these four values are displayed one after another. Value 1, then space, value 2, then space, value 3, then space. All the values are separated by spaces. Same is the case for next line. Okay, next print. You are teaching a space, then sub1 Python, again space, and again space, then sub2 data science. So I hope you got it. So you'll get output in two lines because two prints are there. First print after completing puts a new line, and second print. Getting? So accordingly the values are displayed. Yesterday I took an example of XYZ. I took three variable X, Y and Z, and then with that I displayed. Right? X comma Y comma Z I created. Then I had stored string in X, then some salary in Y and age in Z, and then I printed it in this form like name equal to, or name X, salary Y, age Z. So these are list of values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All values will be displayed one after another. Getting? Name, Ram, salary, something, age, whatever. Okay? So the second way is clear to you. I'm sure it is getting recalled because yesterday all these things we have discussed. Now after reading on the slide, it's becoming more perfect, isn't it? So the third one is list of values, but there is one parameter called end. Because as I said, by default print, after printing the values, at the end puts new line. So suppose at the end, if you don't want new line, you want something other than that, then you can mention this parameter. So what is the default value of end parameter? New line. But suppose you don't want new line, you want something else, then you can use this end equal to and give the value. So whatever value you have given, that will be printed at the end. Right? Okay. See, by default the value of end parameter is /n. /n means new line. It's a non-graphic character. It will just bring the cursor on the next line. If you want, you can specify different value other than new line. So if you want something other than new line, then you have to use this parameter end and give what value you want. Now double quote, single quote doesn't matter. You can use any. Okay, just a quick example. This example also yesterday in a file, I created one file and in that I showed you. See, print hello, end is space. So after displaying hello, it will not put new line. It will put space at the end. Then world, again after world, it will put space. And then Python, and then it will put new line. Because for here you haven't given end. So as end is not given, what will be the end value? New line. Okay? So this way you will get the output. Hello space, world space, and then Python. Is it right? Clear? So this is also clear to you. End parameter. Then the fourth form, using SCP attribute. Right? By default, each value is separated with space. Value 1, then a space, value 2, then a space. So all the values are separated with space. So if you want something other than space, then use SCP attribute. So whatever you give to SCP, that will be used as a separator. Okay, that too yesterday I have given you demonstration. Like in this case only, suppose I am writing print x comma y comma z. Okay, value 1, 2, 3. So by default a space is coming, but I want something other than that. So I'll use SCP and whatever you give, like if I'm putting 3 dots, so all the values will be separated with 3 dot. RAM, then 3 dot, 4500.67, 3 dot. What value you give to separator, that will come. Getting on? Like I am giving the, so all the values will be separated with the. RAM, the, 4567, the. Okay? See. So by default, output values are separated by space. After displaying, it displays the list of value, but each value will be separated with a space. So if you want, you can give something other than space by using SCP attribute. Okay? Example just I am giving. I have created 3 variables A, B, C. They are initialized with 10, 20 and 30. Okay? So 10 is going in A, 20 in B, 30 in C. you are displaying all the three values. But SCP you have given comma. So all the three values will be separated with comma. And here SCP I have given colon. So all the three values will be separated by colon. Getting? See. 10, comma 20, comma 30. And here 10 colon 20 colon 30. Right? So this form is also clear, I guess. Then coming to the next one, fifth one, which yesterday I told you at the end. Last I took this one, that is print and object. So what Python says is you can pass object of any class to print. Means you can pass object of your user defined class also, and you can pass object of some Python given classes also. Python has given some classes like list and tuple and dictionary, then set, okay, and many more are there. So you can pass object of those classes also, or you can pass object of your class also. Directly is possible. But actually what happens is this object will give call to one magic method. Yesterday I told you about that. But which is that magic method I didn't told you. Isn't it? That we'll discuss today. But I had asked you, like, is there similar concept in Java? Okay, like in C++. Can we do it in C++ directly like this? Like in C++, I'm writing cout. Okay, cout. If you are aware of C++, just tell me. And then I'm passing an object of employee. Assume E is an object of employee. I've created an employee object, and then directly I'm passing E in cout. Is it possible? If you have knowledge, you can tell me. Not compulsion. If you remember, you can tell me. No? If you are aware of C++, you should be able to tell this. But anyway, in C++, by default, it is not possible. Okay, in C++, you have to override this, overload, not override, overload this put to operator or insertion operator. This operator we have to overload in C++. Then only it is possible. By default, not possible. But in Java, the same thing, like I'm creating an employee object and then system.out.println and then I'm passing E. So in Java it is possible, but Java gives call to one magic method, which is that magic method toString. I told you yesterday. So we don't call that toString. ToString gets called implicitly. Getting? Same concept in Python also. In Python also one magic method is called. So yesterday I told you what is magic method. So magic method means methods which are not called explicitly using dot operator. These are the methods which get called implicitly. But how Python recognizes it's a magic method. So what Python recognizes it's a magic method. So in Python, any method which starts with double underscore, then the name of your function, and then double underscore. Okay, so any method which is having this naming convention, 2 underscore, then the function name, and then the 2 underscore. Python by default considers this as a magic method. Okay, and such many magic methods are there. Constructor, destructor, then there are some magic methods for printing, then there are magic methods for operator overloading, many are there. But Python's convention is like this, beginning 2 underscore and ending 2 underscore, and they are actually called as dunder method. The literature uses this word dunder. Dunder means double underscore. So double underscore, or you can shortcut call it as dunder method. So all dunder methods in Python are magic method. Means these dunder methods are never going to get called explicitly. If you call it, no problem. But those are such methods which are not to be called explicitly. Okay. So what is the dunder method for this case? Like when you pass object. So it is double underscore str. Just remember. or you can make an analogy. Those who are from Java background, you should remember in Java there is two string, so in Python it is double underscore str double underscore. That simple rule it is. So in Python this double underscore str double underscore is same as two string of Java. Getting? So that is the rule. So suppose if I'm creating an object of list, L equal to square bracket, and you list out your values, doesn't have any complicated syntax or something. Directly you can start listing your values. Getting? And a list object is created. L is a list object. Now if I pass this L to print, it will display all the values of that list. But how it is possible? So actually this L has called one magic method. And just now I gave you the name of that magic method. Dot double underscore str double underscore. Getting? If I say enter, you'll get the same result. Now when I'm getting the same result, this itself proves what it is proving, that here what is called, this L has given a call to this magic method. And then this magic method returns the values of that L, and that values which that dunder method is returning, print is displaying on the monitor. Getting? So I hope it is convinced, it is clear to you that whenever you pass an object, actually that object calls this dunder method. And this is applicable for any, like if you are creating a tuple object. Getting? Now T is a tuple object, and if you pass the T, the tuple is printed, but actually there T has called its dunder method, magic method, this thing, which will also display the same thing. So ideally this is explicit call, and here it is implicit call. Implicitly it is calling this method, and then this method returns a string containing the values of T, and that string print displays on the monitor. Getting? So applicable for every object, not only here, your class object also. Like if you are creating your own class and then you pass an object of your class, that time also the same thing is going to happen. Clear? So that will learn more when we'll come to OOP chapter. Object oriented programming chapter is there, separate 5th chapter. There again we will discuss in detail. Okay? So pass any object like list, tuple, set, user defined object as an argument to print. Okay? Implicitly it will call this magic method. Okay? Always remember, in Python every dunder method is a magic method. Every dunder method is a magic method. And what is a dunder method? Beginning double underscore, ending double underscore. So every dunder method is a magic method. And what is magic method? A method which is not to be called explicitly. Okay? See, here I have created a list object, a tuple object. I have passed that list, tuple, and the values of that list and tuple are getting printed. Okay? So that's simple, the work they have done. Right? So till here I hope it is clear. Till here, if no doubt, I'm taking a pause over here just to ask you people. Till here, if there are no doubt, then we can quickly recall the remaining ways also.
No, sir, no doubt.
Sure?
No doubt.
Others also? Okay. Okay. Very good.
So just one question.
Hmm.
Sir, did you say that we can also create our own this dunder methods?
Yes, yes. But we
Okay,
have to
okay.
override it. Yes, actually, it is to
Okay.
be. So I said, like, when we'll come to 5th chapter, we'll be learning more in detail about it. Like, when we'll come to OP chapter. So in
Okay,
that
okay.
chapter, I'll be telling you how to create our own class. Then in that, how to add our own dunder method. Get
Okay,
it?
that's it, sir.
Okay,
Fine.
so you got it. Because now it is very initial stage, so you won't understand that. Therefore, just remember, but you can add your own dunder methods also. And if you don't add, then also it's going to call one dunder method from its parent. Okay,
Yep.
so I'll not try to explore more. We'll come to that chapter. It will be automatic clear. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Coming to the next one, that is 6th one. that is displaying values in different format. Okay, like you have some floating value and you want to display in 2-digit precision, or you have a string, so you want to display it in some width, or you have integer but you want to display in octal form, integer but you want to display in hexadecimal. So in different formats if you want to display, then use this form. How they have tried to achieve, see, from one print only everything is done, no confusion. That is the reason we say Python is simple and easy to learn. What they have done is all possibility from one function only. Like in C, there are so many output functions. No? Like if you want to display one character, there is put C, put char, isn't it? To display formatted, you have printf. To display string, there is putS. So many variations are there. Here, so simple, only one function, print, and with that only everything is achieved. Getting? So print your format string, percent, and then the tuple of values. Now actually in this format string, what will be there? Yesterday I told you, there will be a format specifier. Isn't it? Inside that format string, there will be a format specifier. Right? And that format specifier will be made up of a percent sign called as a placeholder, and after that there will be a conversion symbol that collectively makes a format specifier. And format specifiers can be many in this. Okay, so that placeholder percent is there, it conveys that something is going to get substituted. So who these values? So value 1 at first format specifier, value 2 at second format, and in which type, whatever conversion symbol you have given, right? Okay, so see, the format string can contain any of the following format specifiers. So few I have listed, there can be many more. Okay, like for octal, %o is there, hexadecimal %x is there. Okay, so integer if you have, then I and D is there. Okay, float f, s is for string. There is no special for character because Python says string and character is same. If there is a single character in the single quote, then also it is a string only. Means Python is not separating a character and a string. Python says everything is string. Okay. Again, few examples of this. Again, the same 4 variables I have created: name, age, sub1, sub2. Now you just check this format string. Now in this format string, there are 2 format specifiers, %s and %d. And then I have given % and then the tuple of value. So name will be replaced in place of first %s, age will be replaced in %d. Okay, so name, my name will be substituted here, %d, this age will be substituted. In the second case, same, you are teaching %s and %s. So in first %s sub1, in second %s sub2. And then you'll get the substituted, after substitution, whatever output is there, that you'll get. Clear? Quite simple it is. Now yesterday when I gave demonstration, lot of other combinations I gave, like you can give width, you can give alignment, you can give precision. So all that combinations you can try. Okay, here just the basic form I gave you. And then the last one is, that is using this format method. Format is a method of string class. And always remember, anything what you write in a single quote or a double quote, Python automatically considers it as an object of string class. Your class string is str, not complete string like Java. Here it is str, class str. So this is actually an object of class str and format is a method of it. Okay, and in this string what will come? This replacement operator, brace bracket. Getting? So the replacement operator, brace bracket is there. Now what this format does, wherever that brace bracket come, there it will substitute it. And yesterday I told you brace bracket is not having any significance for block in Python, because in Python blocks are not created by brace bracket. In Python, indentation decides blocks. Indentation means column number. So all those lines which are typed in same column, they are in one block. Okay, the moment you move the statement even one column ahead or back, the block is over. Okay? So for blocks, indentation is there, not brace bracket, because I'm sure from the languages from which family you're coming, like C or C++ or Java and all, so those families are using brace bracket for blocks. Okay, so now this brace bracket is a replacement operator. At each replacement operator, this value is substituted. Okay, and after substituting, you'll get a new string. That new string print gives it on the monitor. Getting? And there are different ways of using this. I told you, if you leave it empty, it will take it sequentially. Then you can give an index also. You can give an identifier also. Many ways are there. Okay, see, just to recall again yesterday's discussion. X comma y comma z, these three variables are there. I'll assume as it is. And print, this is the string. Suppose I'm writing name brace bracket, salary brace bracket, and age brace bracket, dot format x comma y comma z. Okay, so as these brace brackets are left empty, it is sequentially taken, means it is consecutive. The first value in first brace bracket, second value in second brace bracket, third in third bracket, and you'll get the substituted result, right? But you can mention the index number also. Okay, like if I write 2, then I am writing 0, I'm writing 1, so accordingly the substitution will be. So x is at 0th place, so it will be substituted there. Y is at 1 place, so that will be substituted. Z is at 2nd place, so it will be substituted here. Getting? The numbers, if you repeat accordingly, twice the substitution will be done. So who is at 2nd place? Who is at 2nd place? Z. So Z is substituted twice. Okay. So we can use a replacement operator in our string to put values or multiple values. Just a quick example. Here I have created 3 variables, name, S1, S2. The first one you can see. Now all possible combinations I cannot show on the slide. That's the reason attending sessions are important. Getting? Like if you take these PPTs from someone and you'll try to learn, so you'll learn till some extent, not complete. Because while explaining so many outputs which I show in the idle environment, that I don't show on the slide. Like slides are not a textbook. No? Slide cannot match with the textbook. So whatever is detail given in the textbook, that everything I cannot paste on the slide. So while explaining, many examples I give there. Okay. So I left this brace bracket empty also. Isn't it? Here I have not left. I have just given the index number. Right. So who is at 0th place? Name. So there it will substitute. It's not necessary it should be in order. Year 0, year 2. No issues. And you can use such identifiers also. Means inside you can use some meaningful names and then you can relate that name with your variables or values. Okay. So see here Z S2, X name and Y S1. Order is not important. What it will do, wherever X it will substitute name. Wherever Y it will substitute S1. And wherever Z it will substitute S2. Getting? And accordingly you will get the output. Right? I hope it is clear to you. And on the slide I didn't told you about that F also, which is internally like format. You can proceed with F. I hope you remember that too. Yes or no, guys? Like yesterday I had written that too, like F, then double quote, single quote doesn't matter. Name brace bracket, suppose I'm writing X, then salary equal to brace bracket Y, age equal to brace bracket Z. This is also allowed. I said that this concept is called as interpolation. Interpolation meaning the strings are going to get expanded by substituting the variables with their value. So this string will get expanded by replacing this variable with its value, variable with its value, variable with its value. Getting? As I've preceded with f. Getting? So that is also possible. So that I didn't showed you on the slide, but just remember such facilities also Python providing. Okay? So hope till here it is clear to you guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sure, no? Okay. Then coming to the next thing. Now next we have to discuss about how to accept value from the user. Accepting value from the user. Now to accept value from the user, again there is only one function given by Python, that is input. Okay, and like in other languages there are again so many, like in C, to accept formatted there is scanf, to accept single character there is getchar, to accept a string there is getS, to accept from a file there is fgetS. So many are there, no? Right? No confusion here. To accept a value there is only one function given called as input. That's all. Like in Java also there are so many possibilities. You can accept from command line, then you can accept through scanner, through buffered reader. So many facilities are there. But again, ultimately it may lead to confusion. Here simple input function is given. In Python 2 there was different. In Python 2 input was there, but the behavior was different. And Python 3's input behavior is different. Please remember. And in Python 2 there was another function called raw input, raw underscore input. That function is not there in Python 3. Correct? So that's what I wanted to say. Ki Python 3 is not just a upper version of Python 2, or it is just a wrapper over Python 2 like Java. Okay, Python 2 is a separate implementation, Python 3 is a separate implementation. Clear? Now for accepting, as I said, which function is provided? Input. Okay, so the syntax is very simple. Input, and you can pass any prompt to it. That is also one more benefit. Means if you want to give any prompt message, you don't have to use print before it, which obviously in C++ or in C we write first cout, isn't it? Through cout we give first prompt message, enter name, enter age, whatever, and then with cin we accept it, isn't it? Here this input only does the work of that cout, means prompt message. You don't have to write a print before it, no need. Getting? So directly you can pass to input one prompt message, which is optional. Getting? Now first it will display this prompt, whatever you have given. That prompt will come, colon, cursor will blink, it will wait for you to enter something, and whatever you enter, it will return you as a value. Okay, which will collect it in some variable. Right? So how the behavior of input is, it will first display this prompt, then the cursor will be blinking, you'll enter some value, and whatever you enter, it returns in this variable. So now what I want to tell you is, irrespective what value you have entered, it will return it as string only. That is the peculiarity of this input. So the return value is always a string object. Getting? Though it's an integer or a float or a complex or a boolean, anything, it returns string. Now suppose you want that value in the respective data type. Like you know you are going to enter integer only. Getting? So it will return that, but not as an integer. It will return it as a string. Double quote 35. Which same in Java also happens. Like if you're using buffered reader, and then you write buffered reader object dot read line, it returns a string. Then you convert it to integer by using some Java wrapper methods, right? Integer dot parseInt, float dot parseFloat. So using that you convert it. Here such rule is not there, clear. But there are some conversion functions that I'll tell you, no complicated thing. So whatever input you give, the value is always a string. But suppose now you want it as an integer, then give it to respective casting function and conversion functions are there. Like if I give it to int function, it will convert to integer. If I give to float function, it will convert to float. Okay, so we are going to discuss all that thing when we'll come to topic data type. Okay, here just at this moment remember, irrespective what you have entered, the return is always a string. And suppose you want in the respective data type, then you have to convert them into the respective type by using such conversion functions. Actually we call them as conversion functions, but they are the constructors of that class. Actually they are the respective classes and this is the constructor of that class. Getting? But for ease we call it as a conversion function. Okay. So quickly about input. See, function to accept some input from user. Only I've told you whatever you enter, it's always a string. So that note point I've given. Note that every value that user enters is treated as string. But in Python 2, if you use input, so there the behavior is whatever you enter, it returns in that data type. Int, it returns in int type. Float, float type. So you want everything as string only, then use raw input in Python 2. But Python 3 doesn't have only that function. Python 3 is having only function input. Okay. So all the values entered is string. So we need to typecast the entered value in the desired value. Typecasting means conversion. Converting the value from one type to another. Right. So you have to do the casting by using the casting functions. They have provided such functions. Okay. Just quickly I'll give you the syntax, input, and then you have to pass prompt to it. Okay. This prompt is not mandatory. If you give, that prompt will come, cursor will blink, you will enter something, and whatever you enter, it will return as a string object. Okay. And if you want it in respective type, you have to cast it. Okay. So quickly one example I'll give you. Like suppose I'm writing X input and I'm just giving here enter value as a prompt. Okay. See, first that prompt message is coming. Whatever I enter, suppose I'm entering 45, is copied in X. It's actually stored in X. But if you check its type, okay, now you'll say how to check its type. There is a library function called type. Again, that too, I'm coming to this function in the next topic. When we'll come to data types and all, we'll be learning it. Now just for time being, I'm telling you, it will tell you that to which class that X belongs. See, it tells that it is belonging to class str. When it is telling that it is an object of class str, this itself proves that in Python everything is a object. If it's an object, it should belong to some class. Okay, so how the uniformity these people have done means, when they designed the language, they have not categorized the data types as primitive and non-primitive, which we generally do it in C, C++, Java and all. Here everything is an object, and if it's an object, it is belonging to some class. Can you see, though I have entered 45, it is showing it as class str. Right? Yes or no? But if suppose I'm accepting this value in this way, like I'm passing that to a casting function int. Now what will happen? First this prompt will come. It will wait for you to enter something. Whatever you enter, it returns as a string. That string will be given to int, and int will convert the string to integer, and then it will come in X. Okay, suppose I'm giving 45 only. But now if I check the type of X, it won't be class str, it will be class int. See carefully, class int. Why? Because that string you have converted to integer and then you have collected it. Okay, so not only integer, other conversions are also possible. All will be learning it, don't worry for that. Just see a quick example. Input, enter an integer, that value comes in S. If I check type of S, I am sure you know it now, class str. Now I am converting that S to integer, collecting in X, and now if I check type of X, it will be class int. Okay? Okay, and here I've just, instead of collecting and then converting, directly dual work I'm doing. मैंने two-step work in one statement. Enter an integer, prompt will come, cursor will blink, you'll type something that is returned as a string converted to integer, collected directly as integer. Okay, hope it is clear. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So moving to the next thing, that is write a program to accept two integers and find their sum. Just as we have learned input output statement, so we'll just try to write this simple program, okay, and try to use print in different forms. Okay. Coming to this, see, I'll create one file, new file, then I'll save that file. Obviously we'll save it in our workspace. So yesterday we have created in D folder one basic Python 8, right? So in that folder I'll save it, I'll give name to it as add, suppose. Okay, so the file with the name add.py will get created. Okay, first I'll accept two values from the user by using input statement. Okay, as it is dynamic type, no problem of declaration and all. Now whatever script I'm writing, it is following structured paradigm. Getting? Later we'll see how to write functions and do it. So that will be procedure oriented paradigm. Later we'll see OP approach also. Right? So all types of paradigms Python support. So x equal to int input, enter first number, okay, comma, you can do it in same line, comma y, which is possible in Python. Okay, input, enter second number. Okay, see, x comma y, the first value is inputted, second value. This prompt will come, cursor will blink, you will enter something, whatever is entered is string, converted to integer, then store in x. Same is the case here. Then I'm collecting it in z, x plus y, because the program was addition of two numbers. Now you display it. Different ways are there to display, right? Suppose I want to display the answer like this: addition of x, comma, and y is and z. This is one way. So from that 7-8 forms which I gave you, is this one form? This is one way. So addition of one value, second value, third value, fourth value, fifth value. So all values will be displayed one after another with a space in between. I hope you know now. Getting? So this is one way. Second, suppose I'm writing like this: addition of percentage d and percentage d is percentage d. Percent and then x comma y comma z. The output will be same, but the way I have used, there are so many forms, no? Why not to use these different forms? So this form and this form both will give the same result, but this I have used using that format string. So x is substituted at first person d, y at second person d, z at third person d. Suppose I'm writing this way also, like addition of brace bracket and brace bracket is brace bracket dot format x comma y comma z. Will this also give the same result? Yes, obviously. And suppose if I write like this, f addition of brace bracket x and brace bracket y is brace bracket z. Will this also give the output? Yes. So just see the same output I am displaying in 4 different ways. Getting or no? So I hope you got it. Right? Now you know it, every Python file is called as a module. Yesterday I've told you each Python file is treated as a module. So when I click on run module, see, will it ask you for the first number? Enter first number. Suppose I'm giving 25. Second number I'm giving 45. 70 will be the answer. Is it displayed? The same output but 4 different ways I used. Now you people can try some other ways also if possible. Means you can find out from that previous ways, you can try to produce the output in that way. Getting? So are all 4 displaying the same result? Clear? Okay. Now this a lot of systematic way we did. We accepted, then added, and then printed. This whole program can I write in one line also? Yes, you can do it. Clear? See, print. Okay, and I can write like this: answer equal to comma, and here only see what I'm writing: int input enter first number plus int input enter second number. Okay, what do you say? Will it do the same, this whole work? Say only the output will come in this way, answer equal to, and then the answer. Getting? So is this first input going to run? Yes. Then that value will be converted to integer. That integer is a temporary value. Then again second input will work. Then that value is converted to integer. Then the addition will take place. And then that addition is used in this print. Get it? Is also possible. Okay? See. See, if I give 25 and 45 only, but that first case, this 4 output. Now again, can you see? I'd use that input within print. Okay, suppose I'm giving 5, then I'm giving 10. Okay, and then is it displaying answer equal to 15? Yes. So you can write code in a simplified manner, or you can make it compact and write the same code in single line. It is up to you. Okay. So till here, if it is clear, then now we can proceed with some more things of Python. Lot things to learn, no? Isn't it? Okay. So just quick confirmation you can give me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good,
Yes,
good,
sir.
very good.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Let's move on. Just keep giving me this way. Interaction has to be there. Okay. Otherwise, I won't come to know really you people are understanding. Because normally when the chapter gets over and when we take MCQ test, so in that I come to know how much you have really understood. Getting? So instead of getting poor result in that MCQ test, now only make all the concepts clear. Okay. I want in every chapter MCQ you should get full marks, right? I'll never share you the questions already. Yeah? You're understanding? Whatever the entire chapter you have attended, on that knowledge you should be able to answer it. Okay? Now moving on to the elementary programming concepts. all the basics of programming. The first thing we are going to learn, that is identifiers. Okay, so like you people are all having your good names and you people are identified with your names, no? Means I recognize you people by your name. So the name which you people have is the identifier, because the name is identifying you people. Okay, it is recognizing you people. So same thing in your program also, there are many program elements which you have to identify them with some name. So that name is called as an identifier. Okay, so identifiers means the name given to the program elements. And who are that program elements? Like variable, then function, means the name given to the variable, name given to the function, name given to the class, okay, or name given to the module, name given to the package. Okay, so whatever meaningful name you give by which it is identified, that is called as an identifier. Getting? Like as I said, you people are identified by your good names, right? And with that name I recognize you. Isn't it clear? So same way in your program also there are different program elements, and now you have to identify those program elements. So how you'll identify them? By some meaningful names. Okay, so what is an identifier? I hope you got it. Okay, identifier in Python are names given to different program elements, like name given to your variable, name given to your class, to your library, that is your package, then to your module, or to the function. Okay, now you will give some meaningful name, but it has to follow some naming rules which are being prescribed by the designer of the language. Correct? So the language designer has given some rules of naming an identifier. Correct? So what are that rules? Right? So that I'll tell you. Meaning, like in our normal natural languages also, we follow some naming rules. No? We don't give any name whatever we want. We follow some naming rule, some meaningful thing. So same way the language designer has prescribed some naming rules. Okay, so what are that naming rule? And every language will have its own naming rule. Okay, like Java is also having its own identifier naming rule. C language is having its own. So every language is giving their own prescribed naming rule. What is the naming rule of identifier in Python? That we'll see. So according to Python, all the identifiers, I'll just list out the rules. All the identifiers are combination of letters, digits and underscore. That's all. Clear? No more confusion. Like in Java there is currency sign you can use, then in letters, Latin letters also allowed, isn't it? Like those who are from Java background, they might be knowing. Very sorry. Okay. See, like in Java, letters can contain Latin letters also. Then even currency signs are also allowed. Dollar, pound, yen and all. So such confusion is not there. Python says simple letters, that is uppercase, lowercase, A to Z, digits, underscore. Combination of this can come. Okay? Then cannot start with digit. Only that is the rule. After that you can have digit, but at the first place digit is not allowed. Right? Okay. Then third, it is case sensitive. Okay, I hope the first two rules are clear. Very simple combination of all this. Then cannot start with a digit, that is also okay. Case sensitive, meaning uppercase and lowercase are treated differently. Like if I'm writing age, age and age, all three are spelled out as same, but Python will treat differently because this is whole lowercase, this is proper case, this is uppercase. All three are different identifiers according to Python. So it is case sensitive. Getting? Then fourth is no keywords allowed or no reserve words allowed. Okay? So you cannot use the reserve word or the keyword as an identifier. Now there are many keywords like in. So I cannot give a variable with the name in or an identifier with the name in is not allowed. For I cannot use. Getting? While I cannot use. Break I cannot use. Because these all are reserve words. So that I cannot use it as an identifier. Means I cannot use it for a class name, function name. Like I am creating a class with the name for. Not allowed. Okay? Or I am creating a function with the name while. Not allowed. Okay? So I hope you got it. So no keywords allowed. Okay? And last is no limit on length. Okay? No limit on length. Okay? So that rule also you should remember. Like in some languages there are limits on length. Like old C, if you consider the ancestor Dennis Ritchie C, it was 8 character. Then they came with ANSI C, which was 32. Then now latest C, which we have, that is after C99 standard. So in C also there is no limit. Getting? So here also there is no limit on length. Okay? Ideally, according to Python, the Python interpreter won't complain if you write it with any length. But you're not you're not a donkey to use a variable with 100 length, isn't it? So you will not use too small and too big. You'll use a meaningful name. Okay? So anything other than this is invalid. So like someone will say if space is allowed or no. So when I have said only these 3 things are allowed, so obviously space is not allowed. Yes or no? When I'm saying letters, digit and underscore is only allowed, so nothing will be allowed other than this 3. Okay? So I hope the rules are clear to you. Now there is actually one concept called PEEP. PEEP standard. Okay? Now PEEP means Python Enhancement Proposal. It's called as PEEP. So it is just a standardization. Python Enhancement Proposal. It is, you can say it's like an standardization means industrialization process. Means they are saying ki we are giving some rules, just you follow it while writing the program. It will just give one more readability to your code. But remember, if you're following this rule and you're not following PEEP, is okay. Getting? But when you're following PEEP means you're following this also. Getting? Same concept is in Java also. Like Java also, some people give some standardization rules. Getting? Like they say ki use uppercase. If it is complete uppercase, then they say it is a constant. If it is complete lowercase, then it's a variable. If it's a camel case, like get data. Camel case means you're getting 2 words. First is small, second D is capital. So that is camel case. Getting? So if it is a camel case, then it's a method. First letter is starting with capital. Then it's a class. So they have kept some standardization. So by looking the code, we come to know ki first letter capital automatic. We know ki it's a class. Complete capital, we know it's a constant. Getting? So same way this PEEP also has done some standardization. According to them, they say like for some 63 or 73 length, beyond that it should not go. But if it goes, interpreter won't complain because interpreter is just going to follow this. This is just a good way of coding. Getting? It's just a standardization method. Getting? So Python Enhancement Proposal, they have created some rules. If you follow that rule means you are following this too. But if you're following this rule doesn't mean you're following PEEP. Okay, so please remember that. Like, okay, so ideally if in interview they ask you what is the limit of identifier, so you should clarify that. Okay, according to the language there is no limit, but PEEP has kept some standard, and according to them, I guess it is 63 or 73. Beyond that, it should not go. But if it goes, so you are not just following the PEEP standard, but interpreter is not going to complain if it goes beyond that. Getting, no? Okay. So the rules are clear to you. So identifier naming rule. See, allowed characters are alphabets, lowercase, uppercase, digits, and underscore. Then the identifier should not start with a digit. Means first place cannot be digit. Third, identifiers are case sensitive. We cannot use reserve words and no limit on identifiers. Right? So all these 5 rules I hope are clear to you guys. Then some valid identifiers I am writing. See, ABC 10C. It's valid because it's following the rule. Is it combination from letters, digit, underscore only? Is it starting with a digit? Is it a reserve word? Okay. I hope it is following the rule. This is also following the rule. Only underscore is also legal. Underscore ABC is legal. Double underscore, my name, double underscore. All are legal. Getting? Okay. And invalid identifiers. Few I have listed. Now obviously 99 is invalid because first place digit. Here also same thing. This x plus y is a valid expression. You can say it's a valid expression. Plus is an operator. X and y are 2 operands. That is 2 variables. So expression is valid. But if I consider this whole thing as one identifier, it is wrong. Getting? And for is a reserve word, therefore not allowed. Getting? Now you may say like some PEEP standards do you know, like so like according to PEEP, if your variables start with underscore, then they call it as a private variable. Like generally because Python doesn't have such keywords, private, public, protected and all. Getting or no? Means if you are creating your own class, so inside that class you give some access specifiers like public, private, protected in C++, Java. Here they don't have. Getting? They say like from the naming convention we will recognize. Like if it is starting with underscore, we'll recognize that it is private. Getting? If it is starting with double underscore, ending double underscore, we'll recognize they are magic method or they are some class properties. Getting? So when I'll come to OOP chapter, it will be more clear. So the rules I hope are clear to you. Right? Okay. So about identifiers, if it is clear, you can just give me confirmation in the chat window also.
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay. Then coming to the next thing, that is keywords. Okay. Now what are keywords? So keywords are the reserved words of the language. Okay. Okay, so keywords are reserved words of the language. Means those words which are having some predefined meaning. And it is to be used for that purpose only. Getting? Means their meaning is pre-decided. Okay, it is for this purpose only. Like for is used for that loop, while is for you condition, if, break, continue. So each word is having their designated meaning and it is to be used for that purpose only. You cannot use it for any other purpose. Getting? So those words are called as reserved words or keyword, which are in our natural languages also. Like in English also, there are some words which are reserved. They are to be used for that purpose only. Like we have verbs, we have articles. Yes or no? Like a and the. So these articles are fixed. Verbs are there. Like run, go, sleep, eat. So you cannot use these words for any other purpose. For nouns it is okay. Like in English, nouns are human created. No? So nouns can be used for anything. Like June is the name of a month also, June is the name of a girl also. Girl name can be June and month name can be June. Why? Because June is not a reserved word. It is a noun and nouns are human created. Clear? So same thing here also. In programming also there are some words which are reserved. They have their designated meaning, their pre-decided implicit meaning, and you have to use it for that purpose only. Clear? So Python is having very limited keywords. Like latest version is having 35 now. 2 or 3 more are added. Previously they were 32 and I guess 3 are added in this latest version. So all that I'll list out here. I'll quickly list out. And the speciality of Python is like more of words are there, less of symbols. Getting? Like in C, something are symbolically represented. Like if you want to write logical ANDing, so we use this ampersand twice. Here they have given proper English word and that's the reason we have given in first lecture that it is high level. High level why? Because more closer to English. Like I want to write logical OR. So in C we use this to pipeline. Here we use proper word OR. Okay. So this and or also come under keywords category. Okay. So keywords are reserved words of the language and they have their predefined meaning. Their implicit meaning. They have their intrinsic meaning, original meaning. And you have to use it for that purpose only. Getting? They are used for the intended purpose. They cannot be used for a variable or a method or a module or a class name. For that we cannot use it. It will generate an error. Okay? Then, but some languages are there, like if you know PHP, so in PHP it doesn't create any problem like that. Clear? Here you have to. So there are 33 reserved words actually, and then I said like 2 more are added. I said 32, actually 33. In the latest version, 2 more are added. Okay, so I'm listing out few. True, false and none. These are only the 3 which are in a proper case. Proper case means you're getting, the first letter is capital. Strictly here, remember, if you want to write true in Python, T has to be capital. If you write T small, it will give error. Whereas in Java, T is small. Whereas in PHP, write anything. Complete capital, proper case, lower case, doesn't matter. Getting in those lines. Even in JavaScript and all also. Here, it's not like that. Okay, strictly T capital, F capital, N capital. Okay, actually these 2 are used to represent Boolean value, true and false, Boolean value. And Boolean values have only 2 truth value, one is true and one is false. And none is actually to represent nothing, which in C, C++ and Java we write with void, here they use it none. Okay. Then and or not is all will be learning, don't worry. All will get covered in this basic Python course. If, elif, else. Then we have few like while, for, break, continue, return, in, yield. Okay. Then try, except, finally, raise, assert. These are all associated with exception handling. So when we'll come to chapter 6, all these keywords will be used. Chapter 6 I have kept separately for exception handling. So that time you will be learning try, except, finally. Instead of except, C++ Java is having catch. So here there is except. Getting? Then assert is there in Java. In C++ also it is there. Raise is throw in those language. Like C++ and Java is having throw. Here it is raise. Getting? Functionality same. Okay, and then few more additional are there, like import, from, as, class, def, pass, then global, non-local, lambda. Okay, lambda keyword is first introduced here. Now other languages also have introduced it. Then del and then with. Okay, so these are the total keywords which Python has provided. And I said like all are in words form. There are no symbols used. Getting? So all the words are in alphabets. And except this first three, all are in lowercase. You can check. Each and every one is in lowercase except this first three. Okay? So hope till here keywords discussion is also clear to you. Okay? I hope I'm not going too fast because many more things you have to learn. Lot of things are there. Getting? And
Yes, sir.
okay, we'll be learning it in appropriate chapters, right? I'm surprised there are many such online courses which in 10 hours they teach Python. Getting? Actually, I feel funny how, like, even in on YouTube also there are so many people who teach complete 10 hours course of Python. Getting? Actually not possible. To learn basic Python also, I have said minimum 1 month. Getting? But if I wish to, I can extend it to 2 months also. I can take very good demo projects based on this. Okay? So time factor is important. Not only time factor, the monetary point also, the evaluation of the number of lectures and the fees we take from you, all this is to be calculated. Getting? So hope it is clear. Let's move on to the next thing, that is Python statement. Okay, so what do you mean by a statement? So statement means it's an instruction given to your Python interpreter. Okay, so whatever instruction you give to the interpreter, it's a statement. So it can be a simple statement also, it can be a complex statement also. Getting? It can be a complicated statement also, like a loop, while loop, for loop, if. Okay, or it can be a simple statement like input, output, assignment, expressions. Okay, so they are also statement. So statement means what? I hope it is clear. It is an instruction given to the Python interpreter. Okay, now all the simple statements, if you consider, they are never terminated with semicolon like other language. Okay, just you have to write the statement and press enter and come on the next line, because Python considers the new line, that is enter key which we gave, line terminator, as statement terminator. You understanding? The line terminator is only considered as a statement terminator. Getting? Now I'm sure you come from such genre, programming languages genre, where semicolon is used to complete the statement. Isn't it or no? Like, I'm sure your career of programming, you might have started with C. Maximum people start with C. Though in C also every statement complete with semicolon. C++ or in Java also. Getting? Python says no such rule. Okay? If you write a statement and put a enter, the statement is complete. X equal to 10. Enter. The statement is over. I'm writing print something. Enter. The statement is complete. Getting? So there is no significance of semicolon over here for statement termination. Getting? But still you can use semicolon, but what the purpose of semicolon is, that I'll tell you. It is used as a statement separator. See, if I write x equal to 10, y equal to 20, z equal to 30, and then I press enter. Okay? In the same line, when I write x10, y20, z30 and enter. So you know, according to the rule, Python considers enter as the end of the statement. So for Python, this whole thing is one statement. These are not three statements for Python. So as it is whole thing as one statement, then when the compiler of that Python impure interpreter checks the syntax, it says this is an invalid syntax. Getting? it considers this as an invalid syntax, and therefore it gives a syntax error. You understanding? Clear? You can see this. I'll just quickly show you here. X equal to 10 I'm writing, y equal to 20, and z equal to 30. Enter, syntax error is going to come. See, because according to Python, this last enter is the statement terminator. So according to Python, when you press enter, this whole thing is one statement. But when it treats this whole thing as one statement, then the internal compiler of your Python, two parts are there, no? Python compiler and a Python virtual machine, which does the interpretation, conversion of bytecode to machine code. So when it checks the syntax, it says this is an invalid syntax, and therefore it generates a syntax error. Getting? I hope you got it. So now in this case, how to tell the interpreter that these are the three statements? Then you can put semicolon. Okay, so now semicolon is actually playing the role of not as a statement terminator. It is playing the role of statement separator. You understanding or no? It is playing the role of separator, not as a terminator. Okay, now when I press enter, now it won't give an error, and it has created three variables. If you want, print and see this. Getting? So hope it is clear to you what is semicolon's meaning in Python. Okay, but now someone may say, like, suppose purposely if I put semicolon, will it generate error? So no. X equal to 10 semicolon, it won't. Clear? But still the meaning is same as a separator. So here what it will do, it will consider two statement, x equal to 10 1, and another as a null statement. Getting? After this, so it will treat that null statement and this statement, and this semicolon is still as a separator only. Getting? Okay, so hope the concept is clear. And now you may ask, like, if I want to create a complex statement means group of simple statement. Many simple statement, when you group it, it becomes a complex statement. Other languages call the complex statement, okay, as compound statement, or they call it as a block. Okay, and how do we indicate block in other language? Brace bracket. Here not like that, here indentation. Okay, so if I am writing if some condition colon, and now I want to write sequence of statement, and I want they all are part of that if. Getting? So you are not supposed to write only brackets in Python. Only the column number matters. So all the lines which come in the same column, they will be considered as one block. Getting? So all these are one block. The moment you move back or front, it is out of it. It is removed from the block. Getting? So that is the significance. Okay. So what is Python statement? I hope it is clear. Python statements are instructions that are given to the Python interpreter, and Python interpreter will take that instruction, check its syntax. If it is valid, convert to bytecode, then give it to PVM, and PVM will convert to machine code, give it to the underlying CPU for execution, and you'll get the result. Getting? Then this is a simple statement, a equal to 5. Okay. Then Python uses semicolon as a separator, not as a terminator, because in Python, who is the terminator? Enter. Exact same like JavaScript. In JavaScript also, there is no compulsion to put semicolon, but if you put, then also okay. If you don't put, then also okay. Here the semicolon role is totally different. It is as a separator, okay, not as a statement terminator. See, you can also use them at the end of a line, but if you use it at the end of the line, still the role is same. Getting? Which makes them look like a statement, but it is still a separator. One statement, and the second will be the null statement, also called as a blank statement. Okay, so hope it is clear, right, guys? So quickly, shall we? Yes, Anjali, want to ask something?
No, sir. Please
Okay.
proceed.
Okay. Then, uh, then what we'll do is to wind up with today's session. We'll just complete with this comments part and then we will stop. Okay. So what are comments like? First of all, are comments checked by your interpreter? So never they are checked. Getting in other languages also, like in C, C++, or Java, anywhere you write a comment, it is actually ignored. Comments are actually ignored by the compiler or the interpreter. Getting? But still, why do we write it? Just for documentation. Means to make your code more readable. Like you want to tell, okay, who is the author of the code, then what is the purpose of that program, the date when it was written, and many more things. Like if you have some calculations, so you want to give some more explanation about that calculation. If you have a function, then you want to tell that what it is going to take, what it is going to return. So all that explanatory things you write in a comment. So comment is part of a documentation. Actually, it helps to you also later when you'll read your code, or when the code is given for re-engineering, like when it is given for modification and to some other team. So when that team sees your code, from the comment they should be able to recognize everything for what the purpose is and what that code is intended for. So all that we give it in a comment. Okay. Now originally Python gives only one type of comment. Only one comment is there in Python. That is a single line comment which starts with hash, which they have actually borrowed from Unix shell script. Okay, so any line which starts with hash is treated as a comment till the end of the line. Okay, so originally according to Python, only single line comment is supported. Getting? But now you may say, like, if I want to write a multi-line comment, okay, as like in C we have slash star and then you write a comment and then star slash. So you can go on writing any lines, and then when we write star slash, the comment get over. So don't we have such facility in Python? So we have, okay, but how the dual thing is achieved by Python, that I'll tell you. Okay, see, before that, quickly I have to just tell you that in Python, whenever you write a string, okay, maybe slides will read in the next session, and only the explanation I'll give you. Whenever you write a string in Python, single quote or double quote, you can write only for one line. You cannot extend to more than one line. See here, I want to extend to more than one line. So if I press the enter, the moment I press enter, it will give an error, syntax error, end of the line encountered. Get it? See, syntax error, EOL, while scanning string literal. Now why it has given this error? This is applicable for double quote also. Getting clear? Enter. Because according to Python, single quoted and double quoted strings can be only for one line. You cannot extend to more than one line. Now Python has given one more provision. Suppose you want to write more than one line string. More than one line string. So there is a concept called multi-line string, which is 3 quotes, but 3 quote, 3 double quote or 3 single quote, doesn't matter. Getting anything. Now this string can be extended to any line. Can you see? Did it give an error? No. Okay. And now I completed. It's over. Now you'll say why this person is in between only bringing this topic of multi-line string when he was talking about comment. So yes, it is having a relation, right? What Python says, if you are writing a multi-line string and you are not assigning it, getting? If I'm not assigning it to any variable, so as you are writing this multi-line string and you are not assigning to any variable, anyway it's going to get ignored. So why not to use this only as a multi-line comment? I hope you got it. So how Python has used it as a dual purpose. You got it? What Python says, use this multi-line string and don't assign it to anything. If you don't assign, anyway it's going to ignore, so it will be treated as a comment. But if you assign, then it is not a comment. Now it is getting stored in the variable. Getting? So how the dual thing is achieved by one thing only. I hope you got it. So use this multi-line string whenever you want it as a multi-line string, and if you want as a comment, use it as a comment also. Don't assign, it will be a comment. If you assign, it will be a multi-line string. You got it or no?